Welcome everyone. Welcome to our forecast for this solar eclipse in Scorpio, which is much more than just an astrological forecast. This is something that goes beyond the laws of the physics, beyond the laws of the physical. This is about the metaphysical. And this is solar eclipse in Scorpio. It's partial eclipse in Scorpio, and we all know, at least those of us who follow astrology, that Scorpio is always related to things that go beyond the physical, things that are mystical, things that are mysterious, things that are maybe hard to explain verbally, things that are unknown, things that are secretive. So this is Scorpionic theme, Scorpionic eclipse. And what it means when eclipse is happening. This is new moon solar eclipse. And even though it's a new moon, the energy of eclipse has much stronger impact than just a regular new moon or full moon, because eclipses have a tendency to increase our emotions, to increase the pressure, to increase reactions, to increase everything that we regularly feel when we are when we are feeling that we are being pushed and pressured. So this is something that gives us a lot of opportunity to be released, because it's a lot about pressure, and there is no release without pressure. So we have to have this pressure. Pressure is very much needed in order to create life. Without pressure, there is no creation. Without pressure, there is no life itself. There is no release. So pressure is very much needed, and we should really be able to hear the pressure now, to hear the message of this pressure, and to be able to allow ourselves to feel the pressure in order to release ourselves. And eclipse energy is connected to lunar nodes, and this eclipse happens next to the south node, and south node is known as the tail of the dragon. It is something that we carry from the past. It's our tail, so we are looking back at something. We are looking back at something we are attached to, and we have to release it. We have to let go of something that we carry with ourselves for so long, that is no longer serving us, that is outdated, that is totally dysfunctional, and that we still cling to, that we still hold on to, and that is pulling us back. So this is the south node. This eclipse is happening next to the south node and next to Venus and the sun, of course, because it's new moon, and whenever there is a new moon, the moon is next to the sun. So this is also, of course, the energy of the new beginnings, the energy of the new creation and new life. The sun and moon are conjoined together, but it's also eclipse, and it's next to this south node, so it's very much related to past and to Scorpionic themes, which are all about death, rebirth, transformation, intensity, secrets, shared resources, intimacy, jealousy, possessiveness, obsessions, all the things that we are strongly attached to, our unconscious attachments, everything that we are unaware of, that we push and suppress, things that we suppress, that we keep repressed, that we cannot deal with, our secrets, things that keep us entangled in dark and mystical way of living our life in a way that we cannot explain to others, like this is only my life, this is only these are my feelings, these are my emotions, and these are some things that we want to share with others, but we maybe feel ashamed to share with others, because this is the Scorpionic theme, and the 8th house that Scorpio rules is about things that we are ashamed of, and humiliations, and things that we feel that we have done something wrong, and then we want to cover it up and we want to keep them secret, things that we do behind the closed doors, things that we don't want others to know about us, things that we just want to hide and keep forever locked behind the doors, keep locked away from the world, keep locked away from our own consciousness. So this is a lot about our selves being able to face our shadows. This is about facing that shadow, bringing that shadow out into the light. This new moon will bring that shadow out for us. It will serve the shadow on a silver plate for us to see what's in front of us. And these are, you know, the frequencies that help us wake up. And these are catalyzing energies, the catalyzer that release the stored cellular memories and traumas. Because Scorpio and eclipses, especially when they're next to the South Node, are all about releasing those old traumas, all negative programmings, all negative patterns. And we are now, this eclipse, especially because it's in Scorpio, it's like a double energy of eclipse, because it's very transformative. It can be life-changing for some of us. These are permanent changes. These are very strong karmic cycles, and we are recycling also. We are recycling some karmic agreements, and we have an ability to release huge amounts of karma during this time as well. So these stored memories and stored traumas can now start coming up. They are triggered very much, and we become more aware of what has been in our unconsciousness, because our bodies are being recalibrated and our soul blueprints are being activated. And it can be very uncomfortable, of course, but we know that there is no growth without these activations of these soul growth uncomfortable things, because we are searching for emotional power, we are searching for inner strength. This eclipse in Scorpio is here to scream at us and to tell us that we have this inner strength, we have this power within ourselves. You know, there is no point to try to solve our issues that we have and our traumas externally, because it's impossible. We will always find ourselves trying to catch our own tails again and again. That's why this South Node is related to the dragon's tail or the serpent's tail, you know, the snake eating its own tail. So it's a never-ending story. Like, we are always entangled into this trauma, and trauma has a tendency to repeat itself. That's the nature of the trauma, and we are so much attracted to our traumas, and those negative things, so-called negative things that we carry, they have a huge attractive power over us. We are seduced by these dark things in ourselves. We are seduced, but we reject them at the same time. And this energy is about the mysteries of life and death. And we have to go beyond the rational thinking, beyond what is known. We have to be willing to step into the unknown, and we won't be asked if we want to step into the unknown. We will be, just falling into the unknown. We are just being taken. We are invited, and we are not asked if we want or not. We are just being called and drawn into the unknown, and we are drawn into this unknown in order to transform what is rotten inside of us. Everything that needs to come out will come out. This is like the process of vomiting. So we are taking out our trash. We are taking out everything that is toxic. We are going through a collective detox program, and we are transforming the mud where the lotus of wisdom grows, because the flower of lotus is very much known in Eastern religious and esoteric mysticism, because lotus grows from the mud, and it grows outside of the water, and it's a beautiful multi-layered flower, but it grows from the mud. Roots are in the mud, and that's what we have to apply in our own life during this time. I mean, always, but now it's very potent, it's very strong, and we have to understand that we are also those lotus flowers that grow from the mud, and we can use this mud and transform ourselves. And we see the Scorpio glyph that looks like M letter, which I spoke about many times in lives, but this has to be mentioned, because this Scorpio glyph looks like M with arrow-shaped tail. Again, this tail. And This is the Kundalini serpent energy. This is again the tail of the serpent or the dragon. This M letter has it in itself, especially if you look at the glyph of Scorpio, you will see it. So it's a Kundalini energy that is rising, and it can be very destructive, of course, but it can be very constructive. So we have to understand that everything has its destructive and constructive powers. Like, for example, the sun. The sun can burn us. The sun can destroy our skin or our sight or anything, you know, our health even. But it can also give us life and save our life if we know how to use it, if we know how to communicate with it, if we know how to create the right measurement between us and the sun. So we have to do the same with our shadow. And the same is with everything. The water saves our lives. We cannot live without water, but water can also be very dangerous, right? We can drown in the water. Water can kill us and give us life. So everything is like this in our life. Everything. What gives us life can take away our life as well. And what poisons us can heal us as well. So we are learning how to turn our poisons into medicines. This is the mystery of the alchemy. We are turning lead into gold. We are all becoming alchemists because we are all alchemists within ourselves. We all have this potential, this seed. The seed of the true alchemist is hidden in our deepest, darkest place within ourselves that we are afraid of because we don't know it. And now this part of us is being exposed a little bit. It's being exposed, and it will be even more exposed when we reach the moment of the next eclipse, which happens around the 8th of November. The next eclipse happens next to the North Node in Taurus, next to Uranus, and it will be a total lunar full moon eclipse. This one is partial solar, so it's a little bit easier to digest these energies, even though it's in Scorpio, but it's a bit easier than the one that awaits us. So we are now just being, the curtains are opening and we can see what we are about to explore and experience. It's like opening the Pandora's box. So we are now opening this box and we are about to see what's been inside all this time, and what have we been suppressing, denying, neglecting, avoiding, and where have we betrayed ourselves, because Scorpio is a lot about betrayal. So we may feel betrayed by somebody else, but what's most important is to understand that this betrayal always comes from within, and every resistance, every rejection, every betrayal, every neglection comes from within. So this is that would be the highest possible perception for us to process these energies and to channel them. And this life force that we're talking about here, the life force of Kundalini energy rising, the M letter, and you know the Virgo has very similar glyph. It's also M letter, but the energy is turned inwards and it's self-contained. But in Scorpio, it bursts outwards and upwards. So it's a lot about, you know, being able to release this energy, to release what's been killing us literally. What has been killing us? We should ask ourselves, what's been killing me recently, or since who knows when. And this serpent energy is the life force, and it can be, as I said, creative or destructive, depending on how it's used. And it depends on the level of awareness and self-mastery. And we are now being taught how to become self-masters, because it's really a lot about being masters of our own behavior, of our own emotions, of our own inner reactions, being masters of how we react, being masters of how we receive certain energies and feelings and emotions from around us. How do we receive these things? Because this is a lot about the things that we can control, and we may find ourselves trapped in those things, trapped in trying to solve things that we cannot control. We may be trapped in things in trying to find solutions, trying to control, trying to manipulate reality in the way that we want reality to look like. But that's impossible. Now these are lessons that show us that sometimes things just cannot go the way we want them to. And sometimes we just cannot get everything that we want. Sometimes we just have to surrender. Sometimes we just have to trust and to have that intuitive wisdom that always gives us answers, that always have all the answers for us, just if we are able to really step away from those distractions, because there are going to be many distractions these days, many distractions, especially because Mars, the co-ruler of this eclipse in Scorpio, is in Gemini, and it's about to turn retrograde on the 30th of October, and it will be retrograde until the middle of January, and it will stay in Gemini all the way until the end of March of 2023. So it's a lot about detoxing our mind, detoxing our thoughts, detoxing our way of thinking, our ideas, our plans, our words. We are going to be very much challenged and tested in these areas of how we communicate, how we express ourselves, what do we think about each other. Because Scorpio is a lot about intimacy, it's a lot about intimate relationships and business partnerships, those very close relationships where we share what we wouldn't share with anybody else. These are the secrets, shared secrets. So let's be careful also with who we share certain things. We don't want to share everything with everyone, right? We know exactly with whom we can trust. We know exactly, let's listen to our intuition and let's hear what it says to us. We know exactly who can we trust and who can we tell certain things. And we should also be really careful about what we hear from others. And let's try to stay detached emotionally from those things that we hear from others during this time. Let's try to be centered in who we are, and let's try to just be conscious witness of the things that happen around us, things that we hear. Let's try to see all these things as certain messages to ourselves. And because we are now really training to become self-masters, this is what is asked from us. And if we are not working on becoming self-masters, we will see how we are being trapped in those low expressions of Scorpio, which is jealousy, possessiveness, obsession. But obsession can sometimes be even good if we know how to use it, because sometimes if we are obsessed by something, we can go very deep and dig deep, because Scorpio is about digging deep, and we can do amazing research about something, and we can get powerful insights. We can really get some gold out of those dark, muddy places. We can really dig up some gold from those bottoms of our own beings. And if we are obsessed with something good, we can really get down to the bottom of the thing. We can really reach the very essence of that something that we are obsessed with. So sometimes these things can be used in good way. It's all about how we use them, how we are able to transform them. And this is, you know, the Scorpio has these 3 stages that I often mention. Whenever we talk about Scorpio, I have to mention the 3 stages of Scorpio, because these 3 stages are something that is always reproduced in our life, in different stages of our life. Always we see these 3 stages in everyone. And these 3 stages of Scorpio are the Scorpion, the Eagle, and the Phoenix. And the Scorpion would be like the lowest, but let's not perceive these things as something that is worse or better. This is just for us to understand. There is no worse or better in true essence of the things. But this is how we are able to explain things. So the Scorpion part, the first stage, is the stage where we are afraid, where we feel threatened by everything. And this is when the Scorpion feels afraid, and just, you know, that sting that kills the one who attacked the Scorpio is very activated. So we are very reactive, we are very emotional, we feel threatened by everything and everyone. We may feel afraid that someone is out to get us, or that the world is against us. This is the lowest part of the Scorpion. Then there is the eagle part of Scorpio. This is when we are able to see things from the higher perspective. This is when we rise above. So we are eagles, we can fly and we can see the bigger picture of things. And we are not so threatened by everything, but we are still in the hunting mode. Eagle is still hunting, so we are still cautious. We are still, you know, taking care of how things will be. But we have the bigger perspective. And then there comes the phoenix, the mystical bird who rises from the ashes and is being reborn. So this is the story of the birth, death and transformation, the rebirth, because Scorpio teaches us that death is not the end. This is what astrology is teaching us as well, the ancient astrology, and the people from the ancient times knew these things, because 8th house and Scorpio represents death, but death is not the end, because we know that after Scorpio there are still 4 more signs left. There are still, you know, 9th house after 8th house, 9th and 10th and 11th and 12th. So it's not the end. It's just a transformation. It's transmutation. It's transition. It's metamorphosis. It's the process of osmosis. It's metanoia. It's we are becoming who we are supposed to be. We are becoming our essence, and we are dying for who we were. So this is the process of letting go of old selves, letting go of the fake selves, you know, saying goodbye to old selves, letting our old selves die. And this is very important to understand, because what we see during these times that is falling away from us, and we may feel like we have to hold on to it, we have to save it, we have to preserve it, we have to keep it the same way as it always have been. But this is the moment when we are actually given a beautiful, brilliant opportunity to let it go and to die for who we were, and to be reborn as the phoenix from the ashes, to be reborn, to be like, to go through all these 3 stages, because we may now go rapidly. It can be a very fast forward movement of going through all 3 stages, the Scorpion, the Eagle, the Phoenix. And we may feel this very intensely, and it's very transformative energy. So let's not be afraid of transformation. Let's try to, you know, go through the process of death and dying for who we were. It's the process of letting go of the masks that we have, the masks of personality that we hold on to, of who we are supposed to be, how am I supposed to behave. And we are also understanding the bigger truth behind the process of death, which is physical as well, because we may go through some kind of loss during this time as well. Many of us are probably dealing with some kind of loss, and maybe with loss that happened years ago, who knows. But we have an opportunity to understand the death. That is actually a very natural process. This is something that is inevitable. It's something that we cannot escape. And sometimes we find ourselves in this illusion that we are going to live forever. But Scorpio is here, this eclipse is here to remind us that we are actually mortal, but at the same time immortal. This is of course paradoxical, but paradoxes only exist in our dual system of looking at things. But when we are able to rise above and see from the eagle's perspective, we can then reach the phoenix and rise and be reborn, where we can see that these paradoxes are actually not paradoxes. That's how it is. We are at the same time mortal. Our bodies, physical bodies, are mortal, but our soul essence is it cannot be mortal. Of course, I cannot cease to exist. we cannot cease to exist. Everything is being recycled again and again and again. So we are now learning these processes. We are learning about the greater mystery, the mystery behind the life and death. So this is the mythical bird. We are all going through this process of being this mythical bird, which is consumed by fire and reborn from its own ashes. And these ashes are things that we carry within ourselves that we are afraid of. So we can use these ashes, we can use our negative emotions, we can use all those things that we are afraid of, our unconscious fears, our suppressed emotions, our traumas, our wounds, our all issues. We can use these things as ashes, as fertile ground for being reborn from them. We can transform these things into powerful fuel for moving forward. So this is the journey of the soul into the afterlife, and this is multi-layered. This is the process of understanding that we go through death many times. We go through our death many times during the day, and so many times during the life as well. We experience death so many times, and we are now understanding this, that we are now being taken into the underworld. We are going down, we are going into the underground of our own being. This is the descent into the underworld, and this is where the snakes and the serpents reside. So we are understanding this, and these snake and serpents are also the phoenix in the other form. So we can transform all these things because we carry this power of alchemists within ourselves. So this is the energy of renewal and regeneration. Scorpio has huge power of regeneration, and we can now go through a recovery process, through process of recovery and regeneration and rebirth of who we are. And there is also a myth, a story of two sisters, Ereshkigal and Inanna. And this myth is also very much related to Venus, and Venus is right now next to this eclipse. So the role of Venus is very important during this time. And Venus and Scorpio are very much related through many myths as well, because they carry these transformative powers. And Venus is now transitioning. Venus can be seen as the morning star and as an evening star. So she has different faces and different phases. And in ancient times, people knew that actually some people in ancient times thought that these are two different stars, until they realized it's one star, but it has different manifestations. It can be the morning star or an evening star. And this is also the process of transformation we are now going through on many levels. We are now becoming the different manifestation of ourselves, and we may cling to the one who was before that. So let's not stay in that old, and let's allow ourselves to transform, to shed that old skin. This is the shedding of the skin. The serpents are shedding their skin from time to time in order to live. So in order for us to live, we have to transform. And we are now learning this myth. We are going through this myth with our own beings, in our own life. We are these myths. We are bringing these mythologies alive because we live them. And the story of Ereshkigal and Inanna is the story of two sisters. Ereshkigal is the queen of the underworld. She lives in the underworld, and Inanna is the queen of the upper world. So they are, again, they are the same, of course, the same goddess, but with two different manifestations. And there are also, different goddesses who have 3 faces or 4 faces and different names, but they are all one and the same. And the truth is that same truth is applied on us, because we have those dark sides as well. We have those many different faces and phases, but it's all us in different manifestations. So we are now learning how to cope with these things, and we are facing our own shadow, and we know that there is no light, there is no shadow if there is no light. In order for us to see the shadow, there has to be some light there, right? So we cannot have shadow if there is no light. So this should also be our guidance during this time, and we should be reminded every time when we are faced with something that we don't like, that there is some light there. There is light that is being pointed there, so we can now see the shadow. So okay, now we are becoming conscious, we are becoming more aware of things that have been hidden. And as long, you know, we are, yes, of course, we are afraid of the dark things, we are afraid of darkness, we are afraid of things that we don't see, but sometimes we are even more afraid of the light, because we are afraid of what we are about to see when we turn on the light. We are more afraid about what we are going to see once the light is on, because we may see many things. You know, when we turn on the light in the room that has been in the darkness for many years, we may see some rats coming out, right? And many other things that we don't like, that we feel like, wow, I don't want to see this, I just want to close this door and don't come again, ever again. But we have to go into this room, we have to open this Pandora's box, we have to face it, we have to turn on the light and face what's inside, and then to start the process of cleaning. We have to clean that mess, we have to clean our own mess during this time. And we are going through the process of detoxing, and it may be uncomfortable, but this is the only way out, and the only way out is through, we know this too. But the only way out is also in, right? The only way out is to go within. So again, paradoxes, but we understand this now, and we can understand that when I say the only way out is in, then we are able to go within and to face, to release, to discover the power of the magic and the wisdom of our own beings. And then we can really use our intuition and the power of the Scorpio within ourselves to come and to sacrifice all our negative thoughts, negative emotions, negative karma, broken memories, suppressed desires, unconscious desires, undisclosed desires, our secrets. We can sacrifice these things in order for them to become ashes from where we are going to be reborn. So this is the gates, these are the gates of our own underworld that are now being open, and we are entering, we are going through these gates, and we are being introduced with our own shadow. We are all meeting our sister Ereshkigal. We are all on our way to meet her. And the other story, of course, is very much more popular, the story of Persephone and Demeter, her mother. Persephone is the daughter and Demeter is the mother, and they are very close, very attached to each other, and they spend life together and they have a beautiful time together. But one day the god of the underworld, Pluto, or also known as Hades, abducts Persephone and takes her into the underworld. And I won't go into the details of this myth now because it's a long story, but it also has many layers and meanings and manifestations. So she's being taken away from her mother into the underworld, and her mother Demeter becomes totally devastated. She's in grief, she's in pain, she's in panic, and she's the great mother Demeter. And when everything is fine, she gives the fruits, the nature blooms and everything is beautiful. But now when Persephone is abducted, Demeter is in grief and in pain, and there is nothing blooming, nothing growing. The nature is totally dying. And the story continues in the way that she asks for help from other gods and goddesses, and she somehow finds out where her daughter is. But Persephone eats a couple of seeds of pomegranate, and because she ate those seeds, she has to stay sometime in the underworld, but she is allowed to come out and be with her mother 6 months, 6 months in the upper world and 6 months in the underworld. So there the transformation happened. She is no longer innocent daughter of her mother. She is now the queen of the underworld and the wife of the lord of the underworld, the Pluto, and she has greater power now. She is no longer her mother's daughter. She is now into the power of being her own. So she went through the transformation from the maiden into the woman. And of course there are more stories and more manifestations of this, but we won't go there now. This one is enough because we are now right in this process of going and separating from something that we are strongly attached to. We are going through the separation process, and we are going through our own death process, and we are then resurrected again in the upper world. But every now and then we have to come back because we now have the full circle, the full spectrum human being of who we are, because we are not only given the power to be in the upper world. If we want to experience everything, we have to experience those things that we are maybe a little bit afraid of. So as long as we are rising above, we cannot reach this level if we are not able to reach this level as well. If we want to have the whole picture, we have to have it all. So this story of Persephone and Demeter has many different levels and layers, and of course this is also the story of the nature's cycle and how everything changes. And we have in the most part of the world 6 months is the winter, 6 months is a bit spring and autumn, and other 6 months are winter and autumn, and spring and summer. So these are different cycles within ourselves, and we are now going deep within. We are descending and we are connecting with that pure essence that is hidden in the darkness, and it can be very, very uncomfortable. But again, I say this is something that is inevitable, it's unavoidable, because the energy of eclipses in Scorpio teaches us that some things we cannot escape. We just have to face them, we have to see them. And these things will be very much active in our intimate relationships with others, because we may see things in our intimate relationships, in our close relationships, that we may not want to see. Some secrets may come out, some things that are maybe a little bit dark or heavy to digest, some things that are maybe triggering those jealousy moments, those obsessive moments within ourselves. And these are the things we have to cope with. These are the things that we have to master. We have to learn how to self-master them. So we are now confronting the darkness. But we also understand that there is purpose behind everything. There is purpose. We need to transform the darkness within ourselves, and otherwise it will consume us. We see this in our everyday reality. If we are not able to bring a light into the places where we are, if we are not able to be aware, to be present, to be conscious, we are going to be consumed by some different thoughts, some thoughts that are not so present, that are not so aware, that are not so conscious. Because when we are not conscious, of course unconsciousness rises, and we have to confront these things. And if we are only hiding, if we are only trying to escape this and to find different ways out, we will always be consumed again. So the devil actually serves a useful purpose, and there is no devil outside of us. This is also some tough truth that we may not be able to process immediately, but this is something that starts being processed, because the devil serves a very useful purpose. he or she guides us into waking and becoming more conscious, because we would never do it otherwise. And being unconscious is very seductive, as I said at the beginning. It's very seductive because there is a big pain in trying to be conscious, very big pain in trying to be aware all the time. That's why we see so many people losing themselves and escaping into the world of drugs, alcohol, sex, video games, sports, movies, TV shows, all kinds of entertainments, all kinds of different things that just give us those temporary pleasures. So we are faced with this suffering, and it can seem easier to give up, and we are being pushed into the nihilism and destructiveness. But this is really an attempt to avoid suffering and to stop life from changing. When we don't want transformation to happen, we stop life from changing, and what happens then? It's steady water. It's a very steady energy, and it's not alive. It's about to die. If we are not able to transform, we are dying. And of course we have to transform in order to upgrade our life. So this process of alchemy, of turning lead into gold, it's happening right now in ourselves. And the devil is a trickster, of course, and it doesn't exist apart from us. And every time we choose to remain in darkness, this devil is triggered. And this devil relies on the split in our mind that convinces us that we are separate from others and from the world. But it's only through it's only through the split in our minds that we become aware of the light. That's the of course again the paradox, but this is how it happens. And we become aware of this light only because we are of course split, because this is something that gives us motivation to learn more, to discover, to research, to dig deep. And this is when the Satan becomes Lucifer, the light bringer. This is the process of transformation. This is, you know, the devil is the catalyst for our consciousness and awakening. We wouldn't be able to survive and transform without this energy. So the predator's poison becomes the medicine. We are now turning poison into medicine. We are turning that negative into positive. We are turning darkness into light. And this is, it's not about, you know, removing the darkness. We cannot remove our shadow, right? We can try many times to remove the shadow, but it's impossible. We cannot do it. You know, you can try. Just play with your shadow. Play with your shadow and see if you can somehow escape it. There is no way to escape it, but you can transform it. You can transform your shadow in many different ways. And this is the moment when we understand that we are actually infused with light. And where there is light, there is darkness, of course. And if there is the dance of light and dark, there are shadows. So we are now being taken for a dance with our shadow side. And this shadow is giving us an opportunity to understand the cycles and processes of birth, death, rebirth and transformation. And the power of Scorpio lies in the ability to enter the darkness and to heal the split in our psyche, to understand the split in our psyche, to understand, not to understand, maybe better word would be to become aware and conscious, because when we are conscious, there is no place for fear. There is no place, there is no possibility for being attached. Once we are aware, once when we are enlightened, we become enlightened when we turn on that light. And when we shine our light wherever we look, there is it's like we have a lamp, and with this lamp, wherever we turn, we put the light there. And then we see that those things that we were afraid of were nothing actually. They were just things that we were unaware of. There were things that we were unconscious of. So once we become conscious of things that we are unconscious of, we have this ability to transmute darkness into healing, to transmute the lead into gold, to transmute the darkness into the light. So this is the transmutation of energy. The lesson is that actually nothing can ever truly be lost. This is the greatest lesson of the eclipses. Nothing can ever truly be lost, because eclipses teach us that whatever is taken away from our life makes room for something different to enter our life. And during the eclipses season, we often see that something is happening that has the power to permanently transform our life. Like, for example, people go through many different things: divorces, marriages, karmic separations, karmic connections, death of loved ones, loss, birth of a child, all these, big things, financial breakthroughs, because Scorpio energy is a lot about inheritances, shared resources, joint finances, loans, debts, taxes, bills, credits, banking systems, economics. All these things are also very much important during this time, but I didn't talk so much about these things because they are all manifestations, of course, of our own inner world and our own relationship with our shadow, our relationship with our own essence, and our relationship with our own fake selves as well. So these are only manifestations of those relationships. It's the consequence. Our financial situation is just a consequence of our relationship with our inner selves. And we are also learning about this now more and more. And we are going to see that the riches that hide in the darkness are not easy to access. And there is always a price to pay. So diamonds can only be created under the extreme pressure, and we never get something for nothing. So we have to pay in order to receive the riches. And of course, that story again of Inanna and the Ereshkigal, Inanna on her descent into the underworld, on her way to meet her sister, has to take off everything from herself. She is allowed to enter into the underworld only naked. She cannot take anything with herself. So this is also the lesson for us, to let go of things that we don't need, and to see, do we really need all these things that we have? Do we really need to be so greedy? Do we really need all these things? Do we really need all this food? Can we share a little bit? Can we share things that we don't need so much? Are we able to give away things that we don't need so much? Are we able to see the real value of things? Are we able to recognize the true value of things? Sorry. Are we able to recognize our own true value? Can we recognize what is priceless? Can we recognize true priority in our life? What really matters? What is really important? What is like the most important thing? What gives you motivation to live? And then ask yourselves, what does this tell me about myself? And we will start receiving some deep answers, some deep insights. Pay attention to your dreams as well during this time, because Mars is in square aspect to Neptune. And this is deeply spiritual time, very spiritual energy. And we are asked to look within, to step away from the noise of the external world, because we are so much obsessed by the external stuff, by the way how we look, how we express ourselves, how our house looks, how our room looks, our environment. Everything is external about our work, our family, our house, our job, our devices, everything that we possess materially. We are now asked to let go of that everything, at least for a couple of moments every day. Just forget that we have anything. and let's just focus on the one thing that we really have, what is truly ours, what truly belongs to me, because none of these things belong to me, not even this body. This is all borrowed. We borrowed this body, we borrowed this land, we borrowed everything from the Mother Nature. So the real question is, what is really mine? What really belongs to me? And if the answer is me, then the question is, who is that me? Again, we saw this important question was also during the last lunation, during the full moon in Aries, next to Chiron. That was the primal wound of identity, of the primal wound of separation that leads us to become aware of who we really are, of what is truly my true identity. And now we have to let go of even that identity. We are asked to forget everything and to see what truly belongs to me. And where do I belong? To who do I belong? Where did I come from? Where do I go when I die? From where do I come from when I'm born? These are all the questions for this Scorpio solar eclipse, new moon with the south node in Scorpio, together with Venus. This is the true question. And we just might have to go through the hell to get to this moment of realizing this, because that's the story of Persephone, Demeter, Ereshkigal, Gal and Inanna. They just have to go through the underworld. So we have to go through our own personal hell in order to be transformed, in order to become more enlightened, in order to allow our soul to grow, to alchemize who we are, and to become transformed into something that is much closer to our essence. And the Scorpionic energy is about initiatory death. It's the initiatory death, and there were many mysteries in ancient times that took place in many different places around the world, and these were very, very well-known mysteries, and people were taking these roles. They go through these roles willingly, intentionally. They choose the role of Persephone or the role of Inanna, and they go through the whole process because they are aware what they are going through. They are aware that they need to go through this process of metamorphosis in order to become a bit closer to their true selves. So this is what gives us the opportunity to create our inner strength, because life really evolves through the conflict of opposites, and we don't grow and become strong unless we have something to push against. This resistance creates strength and structure. So this pressure and resistance are very much needed. Otherwise, we are not capable to grow. We are not able to grow. So our inner predator is nourished every time we choose to look away from something that we have to see. And we are now just being told that we have to look at our own shadow. We have to look at it because there is no other way out. Because if we don't look, if we decide to ignore it, if we decide to close that door, if we decide to keep the room in the darkness, we will just go back even more. And then the next time we have this opportunity, we will have to to make an extra effort. It will be a bit harder. It will be more challenging. But we may also ask ourselves, can it be more challenging than this? Of course, it can always be even more challenging, but it can also always be even much better. And we are now learning about these many different faces of who we are. But we have to understand that what we project outside ourselves is also who we are. And as I said, the devil is not separate from us. That's something that we have to understand. That's why Inanna went down into the underworld in order to face her demons, to face her own devil energy. And that's what Persephone did as well. Otherwise, she wouldn't become the whole. She wouldn't be whole. She would still stay with her mother. She would still be dependent on her mother. She wouldn't be able to be transformed from the maiden into the woman. And of course, this is regardless of the gender. This is the process of growth, the process of becoming closer to who we truly are. So this is the energy that initiates us into the truth about life and death. And we have great opportunity to be initiated into this and not to stay locked into ourselves and blind to what is going on. This is not the moment to stay under the blanket. This is the moment to remove the blanket and to go directly with our own light, to use our lamp when we look at things, to use our candle, our inner spark, to ignite that spark and to use it as our guidance, because we really have to understand that the role of that devil is very much important. The role of the devil is to always keep us on our toes. He pokes us with the stick every time we don't do something that we are supposed to do. So we should really honor this energy. Let's honor the darkness within ourselves. Let's honor everything that we see that we don't like. Let's honor this. Has anyone ever told you to honor the things that you don't like in the world? I'm telling you, try to honor those things. Try to appreciate the things that you see in the world that we don't like. Let's all try to do this, each of us, because this is very huge collective healing process, very huge collective detoxing process, and we can really do this if we are able to honor and not to look away, not to blame others, but to see that the devil is never apart from us. Let's honor and appreciate things that we see that we don't like, because this is how we are going to reach the place that we really like, but only if we are able to understand and accept those parts of us that we don't like as also parts of us. Let's try to see the whole picture. Let's try to go through these 3 stages of Scorpio with our dignity. Let's be dignified in this. Let's not fall into the victim modes. Just let's be the conscious, the aware human beings that we are born to be. Just try to be as present as we can during this time. Let's be able to go through the scorpionic process, to go through the eagle process, and then to use it all, to use everything that we don't like as those ashes that we are going to be reborn from. So let's all rebirth ourselves. This is the moment of rebirthing ourselves and saying goodbye, being able to let the old selves die. So again, rebirth ourselves. Remember this every time. Whatever is happening, honor whatever we don't like, and let's be aware that we are now rebirthing ourselves. I truly hope that we can all give our own part in this collective healing. We can all do this. The smallest change is going to bring the big change, the smallest one. So let's not think that what if I do something, it's only me. No, it's not only you, it's everyone, because micro is also having the huge impact on the macro level. So let's all try to give our own part into this, to rebirth ourselves, and not to be afraid of change, not to be afraid of what we may face in that underworld of our own being. And let's prepare for what's to come in the next months, because this is just the opening of the big scene. This is just the curtains being opened, and we are now going on this journey. So we are being prepared now for the big healing, for the big, huge karmic releases. So let's prepare for it by doing the dirty work, by doing our inner shadow work. Let's prepare. Let's be able to confront it. Don't run away. Don't close your eyes. Don't hide under the blanket. Just put your light on those things. And I will see you in 2 weeks to discuss the energies of the continuation of this story, because eclipses are very much connected, and the next one is in the opposite sign of Taurus, and Taurus and Scorpio, they are inseparable. So we are moving and going through our own personal hell in order to reach that place of serenity and peace. I love you all, and see you in 2 weeks. Bye bye.